Hello and welcome to 20 Lore Pro. I'm one of your announcers today, SirAshtown. Join with me is Jebas from Ink Thieves. We're entering into round 7. So today, this is going to be the last round of today's tournament. Round 8 of the Swiss will be played tomorrow morning along with the top 8. So we're going to be excited to be here to watch the last round of Swiss for today, and then come back right in the morning bright and early to play the 8th round and then into top 8. We have a couple of known players within the community who are going to be here for round 7. We have Decandio, Talman Purple, and No I'm Not. So really excited to see how those play out. How's the tournament been going so far for you, Jebas?
Good. We've been seeing a lot of Amber Steel, which did not show itself quite as much in the European DLC, but it is a very strong deck and definitely can attack the metagame that, maybe established itself a little bit from that. So why don't we jump right into table 1 here, and we'll see what we're cooking with.
Well, I'm excited to watch these matches, especially because I want to see what Talman Purple's on. He is kind of infamous, or maybe famous, for playing a locations build. They kind of just took away the imagination, honestly. It was such a unique build at the time. But here we are with round 7, feature match 1. We've seen both these players before, different opponents.
All right, and not surprising that the ones that we'd been seeing kind of all day are still up here. It looks like Ghosty on green-purple was maybe on the play. And it's been a little bit of a back and forth. Calhoun into Lawrence, sort of able to kind of stymie the aggression a little bit. And a Genie from Ghosty, a pretty typical start, I would think, from this type of a matchup. It is sort of aggro versus aggro, but there are a little bit more control cards from Decandio's side that can just directly take out the cards, while the evasive characters such as Genie end up being a lot stronger in this matchup, given that the steel removal does not always line up super well, being that 2 damage isn't quite enough from Strength of a Raging Fire, so Storm has to do a little bit more of the heavy lifting. Alright, so we Rapunzel, Calhoun getting healed up here, drawing 1 card. Quest with Lawrence takes us up to a little bit above parity, 6-5, and it goes back. So this Genie might just be in play for a while, but if there's enough ground pressure, it may not even matter. Another Genie,
Oh my goodness.
Perhaps opting to race, given what their hand has lined up to be, especially if they're inking Crab here. My assumption is they're looking to race, but they're a little bit behind in that race right now.
Yeah, these are not great targets, though, for Calhoun to try to challenge into to gain that extra lore. Can't be banished to that because it has resist 1.
Alright, just sends it right back, so looks like there's a Lilo in the discard here. We're opting to put that back into play, possibly just to develop a lot more board pressure, realizing that looks like this is just going to be a race. Oh wow, okay, so that explains a lot. Decandio just had a hand of 4 cards, which appeared to be pretty much all 1-drops, and decides to ink the last inkable in hand, dump out 3 1-drops, and that's it.
Wow, that is an aggro race. If I ever saw one on Decandio's side of the board, that is impressive.
I don't know if 2 Genies is going to be able to beat this, as we've talked a few times today, because we've seen purple and green a couple times, and we've seen some of these aggro matchups. We know that Amethyst Emerald doesn't have a great way of dealing with wide boards, and that's what we're looking at here. This is a very wide board. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 lore being represented from Decandio on 7 different bodies. It's going to be rough with just 2 characters.
Yeah, what a turn. He was able to play Lilo from the discard pile and then those 3 other characters. I mean, that's There's a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot of pressure. Looks like we're digging to try and find something, but there just is not enough in these colors to deal with that many characters at a time. Decandio realizing, hey, if you want to race, let's go.
Let's head on over to our match 2, which features Talman Purple and Kindle, aka No I'm Not, who is our 20 Lore Community Champion, or 20 Lore Community Pro. He is the pro that we will see all of his matches later on in the tournament. We will have them all recorded and posted to YouTube later on this week for you to watch at your convenience.
All right, these two players are 5-1 as well, just like on our first table. And, you know, it looks like Talman Purple is on something similar to what Decandio's on. Looks like an Amber Steel sort of aggro deck. There were a few different cards. Looks like there was an Ursula, and I thought I saw Gantu being inked as well. But really, it's just play some characters and turn them sideways.
Yeah, I was talking to Talman Purple before today's tournament. Had a chance to look at his list, and it looks pretty good. He was debating about a couple of cards. I hope that we kind of get to see some of them. He wasn't sure if he was going to put them in, but this should be an exciting match between Kindle and Talman. Talman here with, it looks like a Sisu and Snake. Those are really great characters to challenge into. It looks like Talman only has 2 cards in hand, meaning that Sisu gets a buff of 2. A lot of questing power, though, on Talman's side of the board, but No I'm Not can challenge pretty well right now.
I don't necessarily think that the Ursula is for this match, but I can imagine that playing out 2 drops is where you wanted to be this turn. So definitely pretty powerful in this spot. An Elsa tapping that Smee. So I'm assuming that we're going to be taking out what we can here. Could even be taking out this Lawrence, putting 4 damage on the Elsa, and then having the Sisu clean it up. Would basically take out everything on the board.
Yeah, this is interesting because the Calhoun can always come back if this Sisu... Yes, just the way that it is, that Calhoun can come back, take out, trade with the Sisu, or, depending on how Talman inks, could even survive and be able to challenge.
Yeah, so does end up opting to essentially just challenge the board. Puts the damage on the Sisu instead of trading away the Snake, which makes sense. Keeps all the bodies on board. This Calhoun is going to be able to rumble back in and possibly even live. Well, I guess with the amount of cards in hand, we'll determine whether or not this Sisu is big enough. You know, if we can get rid of 2 of them... Okay, deciding to go with the Ursula. I think that's fine as well.
Yeah, your Rapunzel.
Going with the Ursula for the most amount of healing makes the most sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So that draws 3 cards as opposed to the Calhoun gaining the lore, recognizing that the lore probably isn't as important here. We can still collect 2, trade the Calhoun into the Snake, and gain the 2 there, but drawing 3 cards, certainly very powerful here.
No, Rapunzel line, great. And you still got rid of the character. I mean, that's excellent.
That's why you run the Ursula, is that big body. Having 4 willpower is really, really important for leveraging these Rapunzels better. Does end up collecting the 2 lore with the Calhoun, getting rid of the Snake. Not much that can be done about this Elsa from Talman Purple's side, at least with the amount of resources that we're working with here. But does opt to play out a Cinderella as well and then just send it back. So 1 card left in hand. Or actually, probably a couple of cards, maybe 2.
I'm trying to think. I know Talman is notorious for playing with his inkwell above his board state, but isn't that reminiscent of some old school Magic players?
Yes. It is no longer something that you can do in Magic anymore. That is not currently a rule in Lorcana, so Talman Purple has decided that it's okay to do that anyway. Which is okay.
Yeah, if you're used to it in Magic and it's carried over, it's not a rule, it's standardized. I mean, no reason not to change if you don't have to.
Do we want to check back in on the match 1, see if we can't close that out? We'll periodically pop in on TMP and Kendall here. Okay, so it looks like they just got started. We're only a couple of turns in. So far, it appears that it's pretty much just been bounce the 1-drop, play a Smee, trade the Smee in, and then now we're just singing draw 2 cards with our friends on the other side. Looks like it was a Cinderella that maybe got bounced.
Yeah, again, Lawrence, no damage on it. Great quest, sir. Can't be bounced by Cloud Kicker due to being a 4/4 without the damage, and great quest for 2.
Yeah, Lawrence has been pretty impressive all weekend. There were a few situations that we saw where some removal spells that were damage-based were kind of combined with some big bodies, but the Lawrence is very good, and now we're seeing the White Rose, which I think is one of the, alongside Genie and this Diablo, those are the only real new cards sort of coming out of set 6 here for this deck. But they are all very powerful in their own right. The deck historically was always playing, on and off things like Kuzco, which is just a very similar card to Diablo, in that when it's banished, you draw a card. Well, it costs 2, so it was a little awkward on the curve. Now we're playing, this Diablo out of set 6, which literally has the same text. When this character is banished, you may draw a card, but it's a 0/1. You just play it for 1. It does a similar effect, which is that you put something on the board and you use that to quest until it goes away, and then you replace it in your hand. Lets you keep those resources while you're still adding pressure to the board, even if they're on your layaway.
And it's great for this Diablo. I've talked to JDRR, great community member of the 20 Lore Pro community, who has said that really Diablo is almost reminiscent of Spellbook, because you're just going to quest with it every turn. If it gets banished, it's banished. You're glad because you're going to draw that card anyways. So great card, great new addition, with it being a lower ink cost, like you said. Big plays here from Decandio.
Runs out a Happy, a Cinderella, and a Doc, choosing not to do the discard.
2 knights on the board. Maybe that could be a sign that we might have a mine here soon. There is one in hand.
It's like there's a mine and possibly another Doc.
Running out a Doc and a mine. I'm sorry, a mine then a Doc. Maybe next turn, depending on what he draws. Not too bad.
This could be a situation to really leverage that mine. Right now it's in an awkward spot because of the White Rose, but if that quests and you can actually take it out, that could be what we're looking at here. It sort of depends on what Ghosty is able to do this turn, because you can actually force a really awkward combat if you develop the mine. If they don't have something like Crab, to buff up the White Rose with Challenger 3, and tackle into the Seven Dwarves mine to take it out, they may have to commit more than one thing into it. I mean, they only have 5 on the board right now, and they just got rid of a Fox. I'm assuming that they're taking out the Cindy here? Oh, they're taking out Happy. Okay. Taking out, recognizing that maybe a Dwarf is a little bit more powerful here, they decide to trade 2 cards in to get rid of the Lawrence, and then quest with the Diablo. So we can't quite take out Elsa with the mine on its own. Let's see what we drew. Oh, that's a strength of the Raging Fire.
That's a great card to be sung by a well-known Cinderella.
Sorry, not a strength of the Raging Fire.
Let the Storm
Rage on. That's a Let the Storm Rage on, which might even be better, because now we can take out the Elsa entirely with the mine here. An unfortunate draw. I think it's just another Happy. Okay, opts not to move the Doc because you don't need the extra damage. Once you've moved them in there, you can't unless you have another
location.
Another location. You can't move them out. So it is each move is a single thing. So only needing to deal with 1 damage here and recognizing that. So they did find the Crab and took out the mine, which is unfortunate here. And it was something that I was a little concerned about. Given that we only had the one mine and not a lot of other resources, that could have been a route to victory. Okay, so they go Calhoun into dock, so it was a second dock. To draw the 2 cards. A bit of a back and forth, but unfortunately, Ghosty's had a lot of 3/3s as opposed to 1/3s, which does matter.
Yeah, they've been paying off from here. Here's another Elsa.
Elsa tapping Calhoun to trade it off with a 3/3, which makes sense. Gets the White Rose off the table, but we don't gain any lore out of it. Here's a Crab and a Merfolk. Now, if Decandio is able to empty the hand, this Merfolk dies for free. Now, it is unlikely that, given that we have Kita in play, or sorry, Kita in hand, that we're going to be able to do that. Maybe Ink plus Kita plus another thing. You can take out 2 things plus the Merfolk. Looks like a Pluto. Pretty expensive cards in hand to worry that much maybe about the Merfolk's discard.
Yeah, this is interesting because the Kita gives all characters -3.
Correct.
This is, you have the opportunity to quest, but
we don't really have that much lore in play is the problem.
We don't have the ability to.
Okay, so we opt to take out the Crab.
There's a strength.
There's the strength. Absolutely. So we 3 the Crab, gets rid of that, and it makes it so that they can't like bounce the Crab, which does get around Kita's effect because it just adds Challenger 3. The characters will still be -3 for the turn. So, for example, the Merfolk would still be at 0, even with that, but it does make it so that the rest of the things outside of maybe another Elsa off the top don't really have the ability to challenge back. Just plays a Genie then. So it does opt just to play the Kita. So it is a pretty rough board here, actually. There's a lot of lore on the other side. Certainly a lot more than we have. Decandio representing 5 versus the 2, 4, 6, 7 from Ghosty. And Ghosty's at a much higher number. So now getting to eliminate the Merfolk for free by inking that Smee instead of playing it. But we ran out Pluto, so this race is maybe a little bit closer than I had thought before.
Yeah, Decandio here did some setup in order to make sure that line of play was viable. Instead of just going for it earlier like I thought he would have done, or even maybe should have. But
so we've only got 6 in play, so if any of our characters are removed, it's pretty rough. I think this game may be slipping away here. They gain 5, go to 15, and they've got 5 in evasive, which we don't interact with at all. So unless I'm not good at math, that would be 20. Quest for 5. Yep, that'll be that.
We're 1-1 here in round 7 in feature match 1. SSG GHOSTY against Decandio. Let's head on over to our match number 2. This is featuring No I'm Not versus Talman Purple.
And it looks like they're getting ready for game 2. It looks like eventually Kendall was able to take that down. Likely ran him out of resources. Did what Red Purple does, which is, you know, play that grindy game, drop a rabbit, get a little bit more cards, and then kind of close it out. So,
well, we want to thank some of our partners here in today's stream. Again, this is the last round that we will be streaming today in the Swiss. Tomorrow we will be live in the morning, sometime around 10, depending on the players meeting, Eastern Standard Time. We're excited to have this tournament be hosted by Charlie's Collectible Show here in Stone Mountain, Georgia for their Lorcana 10K. Excited to see that 218 players in total came to today's event. We want to thank everyone for coming out and for the players who are playing on the feature matches. We want to thank GFQ Underground for printing today's mats that you see right before you on the screen. If you would like your own custom playmat made, head on over to gfqunderground.com. Huge shout out and thank you to the artists over at Diamond Ink Apparel, Miguel, for doing the artwork for today's mats. They just look so amazing. He did a great job, kind of giving a slight nod into the Azeroth Sea. Let's head on back to match 1, see how Decandio, both of them are doing.
Yeah, I think we can finish off our first one. They should be pretty quick, and we'll likely be able to catch a full game, unless Kendall fully sweeps him, which seems unlikely given that the play draw matters a lot on that map for the aggression. So we'll check back in on them in a little bit, and you can always catch all that entire match on YouTube later, because they are all being captured because Kendall is our chosen pro for the weekend.
Yeah, exciting that the Discord community of 20 Lore Pro decided who the pro would be for the weekend that they wanted to watch and follow for the entirety of the tournament. That chosen pro was No I'm Not.
So Decandio, being on the play here, is deciding how important these cards actually are. So likely keeping the mine for ink, or just sending back all 5 of those. So that would make more sense. Keeping 2. Those were very good cards, but without a Cinderella, they don't really do a whole lot on their own, which means that likely the rest of the hand was a little awkward. You want to make sure that you have enough ink to play your spells. That is not helpful, even keeping very powerful cards in the matchup. If you can't play them, it doesn't matter. So this is 1-1. This is our third game for round 7. Round 8 will be played tomorrow in the morning, which we'll be covering as well, I believe. And then we'll do the whole top 8. And are we going to be doing any of the 2K at all afterwards?
That's right. Right after the top 8 and the finals of the 10K, we will be immediately following that into the 2K. Normally they start the 2K around the end of the 10K, so we might hop into round 2 or 3, depending on how quickly those rounds go. But we'll be live right after the 10K with the 2K tournament.
Yeah, so definitely stick around. We'll, be getting that rebuy event for tomorrow with plenty more games to watch. So mine does get inked right away. It looks like they end up drawing a couple more, and a really good run out turn 1 for Ghosty here. Merfolk is basically turn 1 exactly what you want out of the green decks. The only reason you put it in there is because it quests for a lot, and it is a nuisance as far as how much lore it is able to put out before you have to make the choice of discarding a card to get rid of it. Though mine, if we do end up leaning into the mine, can get rid of it kind of for free, so we'll see how the next couple turns run out. So an Ursula comes down, looks at a hand of Doc, Rapunzel, a Lilo, and a mine, so does not hit anything, which is certainly favorable for the Decandio here. I would imagine that this Lilo is either going to come down or it's going to be inked. Depends on how much we want to just get this mine in play.
Could also swing into Curse Merfolk and just discard the Lilo.
Could, that's true. Ends up discarding the redundant Doc, which is also fine, I think. That way we can keep our additional inkable, because if we want to try and leverage the mine, we're going to have to get to 4 at some point. Lilo plus mine is a little cute as well. But it looks like that is not that important. But this makes sense to me. Yeah. Running out the mine and another character, that way, with just the Ursula, even a crab is not enough to take out the mine. Even if it is Ursula challenge into it and Fox, it's still not enough to take out the mine. So you're going to be able to get at least 1 activation out of it, possibly more. Depending upon what they have in hand, that may limit what they're able to run out this turn, given that they know that we have a dwarf in hand as well. And if it's a strong enough hit, we may just not worry about the Doc trigger as much and just take advantage of it.
There's that crab, like you just mentioned earlier, doesn't even worry about the mine, and instead goes in to Mr. Smee. I
think that's probably correct. So you're trading a 1-3-4, effectively a 3-3, but knowing that there's a Rapunzel on the other side, you kind of have to get rid of that Smee now, because it ends up being a bit more of a problem later. Opting to just draw 2 cards instead of leveraging the Rapunzel, especially since we don't have a lot of bodies on board, plays out a Smee and a Dock, and then just sends it back. Now, we could lose this mine to a Fox, or another Crab. So it is just a rabbit, so we may see the Crab just bully into the mine, we may see it do nothing, just puts 3 damage in the mine. Mine having 6 willpower. We do get to gain some lore here, going up to 2 now. Does it gain 2 lore? It's not too bad. Certainly seen worse cards. Ooh, and there's a Kita on the other side.
Yeah, this is, I mean, when you have a Merlin Crab on board, that's pretty good to be able to have one, but you know that they could always bounce it or even try to get rid of it in some way.
Oh, we had another Dock, so we decided to draw 2 cards.
Wow. We
can actually take out this Crab here. If you move one of these dwarves, the Dock over here that was already... so this Dock... if you move the one that can challenge into the mine, it can deal 2 damage and then just challenge in, so the 1/3 body is big enough on its own to actually take it out.
That's exactly what Decandio did right there. No, look.
We did not just did Smee, so we didn't even move it into the thing because we want to play the Lilo that we drew instead, which makes sense as well.
Yeah.
And the Smee's body is, just as relevant as any of the dwarves. But I think just getting the Lilo on the field is not terrible, or even a second mine might not be bad. That'll allow us to deal 4 damage potentially next turn. Ooh, I like this play actually. So developing the second mine, with the 2 dwarves that we have here and here, we can actually put both of them in there and actually start taking out much larger cards. Knowing that, I mean, it's onboard stuff, that's a big problem. I mean, now you can't really just do, say, play an Elsa and challenge into something, because all of a sudden, you move the 2 dwarves in there, and Elsa just gets taken out. Yeah.
Man, this might play out exactly like you called it here, Jebas.
And here's the rabbit. Trying to figure out what we're doing with that.
And mine is gaining Decandio passive lore at each turn.
Yeah, we're getting 2 lore for free, going up to 5. And it is not unreasonable to take out this Elsa, quest for a decent amount here, and then still develop the card that's in hand, which is that Lilo. Yeah, puts the mine up to 5.
Now you can even move your dwarves onto the damaged mine, knowing that they may fall off. That way you can move them back on later on.
Yeah. We'll see if it was an Inkable that we picked up here. Spreads it out, which I think is okay too. But does take out that Elsa for effectively free. Could even challenge all of these characters into the rabbit. Yeah.
Wow.
Because one, it doesn't allow them to necessarily draw a card off of Daisy Duck, but it takes out all the cards. They all take 2 damage, but they all survive. And that means that the mine lives outside of anything but, character plus Fox or another Elsa. There's a finite amount of, characters that can rush in and damage that, in these especially.
Yeah, I'm liking this board state like we were talking about Jebas. This Decandio here, having the 2 mines here, you're getting passive lore, you've got the nice to switch between them if you want to. This is, talk about a pretty strong kind of...
It's really digging Ghosty into a hole here.
Yeah.
So we can move some damage to take out one of the characters. You can move 2 off of a Dock or a Daisy and just take something out. Taking out a Dwarf makes sense to me. You can choose to move 1, because I believe that if we bring up the bell, it says move up to 3 damage. Yep, up to 3 damage counters. So we're choosing to move 1, leaving an extra damage counter. It's kind of free. Since we only needed 1 damage to take out the Dock, this does limit a little bit more of the amount of damage that we can put out. If we do have another Dwarf in hand, however, or a Song or something, we can take out this Bell and just continue this passive lore gain which, as we've seen from basically every other location in the game, if you don't answer them, eventually they're going to win for you, you know?
See a strength of a Raging Fire in his hand.
So strength for 2, move Doc over to the other location. Quest out could be an interesting line here that gains a decent amount of lore and, you know, continues to keep the pressure on, and it protects that mine a little bit better. And the healthy one has nothing in it, so then that's also pretty good. So we quest with the Doc, move the Doc, deal 2 damage. Do the strength, yep, just like we thought, and we'll see if that Daisy gains the 2 or not. Just says go.
Yeah, again, not committing too many resources because you have 2 mines, passive lore, you're not having to really put a whole lot out there, keeping all of your resources in hand to respond to whatever Ghosty plays. Decandio is really keeping that close to chest with his cards.
Well, and we don't need to go that fast. You know, we need to just keep the board under control. There's only so many characters that they can play per turn. And we're just gaining more. The 2 every turn is a lot. So they've developed a lot of characters. You know, that Genie is likely going to live, but we can literally use the mines to take out everything but the Genie just for free.
Goodness, you can move back and forth.
Yeah. Since we have 2 mines, you can actually move them around. Yeah, and that's exactly what we're going to do here, I think. He's choosing to move it over there instead, which is fine.
Yeah.
Because then it is more likely that it's going to be able to move if that one gets taken out. So we do play the Lilo here, which realistically is a problematic card in this spot. Because again, Ghosty's going to have to spend a lot of energy, you know, a lot of time, tempo, trying to deal with these locations while taking out these characters. It's just a lot of willpower that needs to be dealt with. Daisy's got 3 more willpower. You know, the mines in combination with each other have 7 more. You know, the Doc's got 1, and now this Lilo has 2. Like, that's a lot to contend with when we're already at 13.
Yeah, this has been just a game where we've seen these locations passively gaining the 2 lore, getting them up, ticking up. It's something that Ghosty right now has to try to find a way to get out of this loop he finds himself in.
I mean, Decandio has not quested that much this game for how much lore that we're at. It has almost all come from the mines. And as we see here, it's just going to be 2 more from the mine. You know, pay 4, take out the bonsai, and, you know, that's another free character that's just removed off the board. It's essentially like drawing a card every time that you're taking out a resource. Oh, even better, we have a Happy that can move in there, and then move the Happy to the other one. In this case, it looks like we are just playing a Lilo from hand instead of doing that, but we could have just moved Happy to the other one and dealt 2 more damage, but there's not 2 damage that we care about. You know, in this spot, we're at 17, and we're representing just straight lethal on board. A very cleanly played control game with these double mines, just bullying these small characters. You know, the aggro decks, which realistically, you know, Emerald Amethyst is an aggressive deck. Don't need to waste any cards. You just take out all their characters by moving your characters around. That shows the power of digging holes and getting them in the 7 Dwarves mine.
The mine really just doing a lot of work, just like you were saying, Jebas. Been a great card that we got to see showcased here today, and how it can really alter the state of a game. We're going to head on over to match 2. Congratulations to Decandio. On match 2, we're watching Kendall, aka No I'm Not.
We're not watching anything.
Not watching.
Looks like Kendall just stomped him.
Well, so what we talked about before the break, before switching over, is that you never know when No I'm Not could just run through and just kind of have the game plan just go. And
given that the scores were 17-14, it looks like it was probably a pretty close game. But there's always the chance that it was just goat bounce goat or something similar, just enough to close it out. I can't imagine that matchup is lopsided in either direction. Very much, just because, you know, it's sort of just Steel Song versus Steel Song cards, kind of that Amber steel versus the classic red purple, and it's always just been kind of how the draw shakes out. There isn't just a lopsided, oh, be prepared, now the game is over kind of thing, because it's just, slinging your characters against their characters. Depends on how the draw shakes out. So
it's a match that we've seen since the beginning of Lorcana, since it's all the way set one. There's the Amber Steel versus the Ruby Amethyst players. It'll be, probably for more seasons to come of this matchup.
I would imagine so, and we're probably going to see it quite a bit more tomorrow. I suspect that at least a handful of the Mines or the Steel Song variants are going to be around tomorrow. At the very least, Decandio is going to be there. I assume TMP will be around, as he's still X and 2. And then the two last round opponents, they were both undefeated. So, we're looking at quite a few Amber Steel players kind of running the tables today.
We certainly are, and we may see them tomorrow morning in round 8, depending on who we have on the feature match, but especially, we still have the 2K right after the 10K tournament, so we might see even more then. Players, as they see kind of the advantages of playing those types of cards, may start adapting it into their lists already.
Yeah, it depends on how many backup decks people brought. Maybe there's a hard pivot, and the 2K is just going to be flooded with Sapphire Ruby, just sort of running the tables on all these players trying to just play low to the ground characters and not a lot of reach. You never know. The meta seems to adapt to itself pretty well. The local meta at this event seems to be a lot of Rapunzels and a lot of Calhouns. So playing cards that don't care that much about that might be the ticket.
Well, we want to thank y'all so much for joining us here today at Charlie's Collectible Show for their Lorcana 10K tournament. That was the last round of day 1. Tomorrow we're going to have around 9:30, 10 o'clock. We'll go live after the player meeting, but we'll do the round 8 of Swiss into the top 8, then the finals, and then after that we'll have the 2K tournament for you to watch. We're really excited to share this with you and to come and be alongside the community as we continue to see the competitive Lorcana format heading into NA Continentals and even further. So thank y'all so much for joining us here today on Twitch or YouTube. If you miss any of today's rounds, they will be up on the Twitch VOD right after this, along with the YouTube videos. We'll also have an edited edition of the tournament available to you on our YouTube 20 Lore Pro later on this week. We're offering the tournament in several languages live, so if you speak Chinese, German, French, or have friends who do, those links are available in the description for you to use at your convenience. Again, thank you all so much for joining us here today. Jebas, you have been wonderful. Thank you so much for your casting, your insight. You really have a knack for what kind of players are looking into, so thank you for joining us. You were a crowd favorite, and so great to have you on board.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've certainly missed doing casting. I'm glad that I got the opportunity to come hang out with you guys, because the 20 Lore Pros are awesome. It's great. It's a great community, and this tournament is awesome. Charlie's Collectibles,
they're great.
It's great. This place is awesome. It's such a cool store. There's tons of vendors here selling all sorts of stuff, and it really is a con like I haven't been to, in years, where there's just a little bit of everything.
It's been great, and because the tournament's ending a little bit early today, we got some time to go check it out, so I'm excited to head off with it to go look around at the booth.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Great. Well, thank y'all so much again at home for watching. Really appreciate y'all and all of your support for the 20 Lore Pro community. We hope to see you tomorrow, and if not, we'll have those videos available to you, and we will see you tomorrow.
In the morning.